Hello, welcome to The Brew is Back, uncut and uncensored. I'm your host, Erica Jones. Welcome, mi casa e tu casa. Y'all, thank you first off for joining me for episode 4. Oh my goodness. Today, we are talking about the Back to Africa movement, the return, the final return, the return of all returns. That once we return this time, we ain't coming back. Or we just going to keep going and going. More of us going to keep going and going and going. Let's see what would happen to America if African Americans were not here. The way they be disrespecting us and everything we've contributed to this country. What is the answer? Well, for a lot of us, the answer is going back. For a lot of us, the answer is this new frontier, this new old frontier. Because were we supposed to be here forever anyway? We never even asked to be here. So were we always supposed to stay? I'm sure our ancestors would beg to differ. All they wanted was to go home. They never saw a future in which we were here. But the return, this new frontier, is not for everybody. It is not for everybody. Not everybody wants to go. They don't want to stay, but they don't want to go. So who is it for? Who is it for? Who is it right for? We are going to explore that and more on this episode. I got some great guests lined up. I have Tina Ansa, who is Ghanaian born, grew up in LA. She is an actress and entrepreneur. Tina is going to be chatting with us. I have Tim Ford Jr., who is Memphis born, now living in Tanzania. He's going to be chatting with us about his experience. And we have Claude Grudnitsky, who was on episode 1 of the podcast, and he is my mentor and friend of 30 years. He's a venture capitalist. He was born in Togo and is a citizen of the world, okay? So we're going to be chatting, hearing from them, and we're just going to get into this topic. What does it mean to go home to Africa? Well, I'll start by saying just what even inspired this conversation. There was a few things that inspired this conversation. For one, I'm an Africa stan from the time I was a little girl, and I saw Roots, the TV series. I'm dating myself, but Roots, the TV series came on, and from the moment I saw Kunta Kinte getting plucked, getting kidnapped out of Africa, and I saw Africa, and I saw this place where we were living these full lives, and free from this racism and this world of servitude that we have come to know as our life here in the U.S. So I saw Africa, and I saw it just opened my world to see this place. We were kings and queens and farmers and singers and griots and teachers, and we were living. That to me, Africa was the place of my origin, and I just felt a connection from that point on. So there's that innate interest in Africa, that innate love for Africa, that innate connection. There's the fact that this country is, trying to take us back. They are actively, not even trying, they are actively taking us back in time. Not if it's not horrible enough, all the inequities that we face in this country, from healthcare to our maternal health to just every inequity that you can imagine on all levels, including, the mass incarceration. So if it wasn't all that, they are actively making things harder and worse for us, so there's that inspiration to really look at Africa. as home and as an option to this place. There is Ibrahim Traore. Come on now, give it up for this man. He is inspiring the base. He is inspiring the diaspora. He is making so many of us look at Africa with new eyes. When we see a strong Africa, then we see ourselves as strong.
This is our only hope. Our hope is in a strong Africa. And when Africa is strong, our position in America will be one of respect. But if Africa is weak, we will never be in a position of respect in America.
Let me just tell you a little bit about Ibrahim Traore. If you have been living under a rock, it's okay. It's okay. That's why I'm here. I'm here to break it down for you. Ibrahim Traore. He is the youngest African president at 37 years old. He's the president of Burkina Faso. He has been revolutionary in the few years that he has been the leader of Burkina Faso. He has kicked out the French in terms of their military. He has united with a few other African French countries as far as coming up with a currency that is not based on the franc. He is taking control of the coal mines and the production of their natural resources. He has made education free. He has made healthcare free. He banned those little crazy wigs that, God bless, we all have the stuff that, that we have like clung to from colonizers, the oppressors, but he banned those wigs. They were wearing those in I guess in court, and he banned that shit. Get that shit out of here. It looked crazy on us anyway, which some might argue is the same thing as people walking around with some of these wigs. I ain't judging, and I'm not saying, but I am saying, I'm not saying, but I'm saying, okay? So he has been shaking things up, and he's inspiring not only just people from here to Jamaica to London and France, all over the world. He is inspiring Black folks all over the diaspora. So not only that, but he's inspiring other leaders. There are leaders and there are leaders of leaders. He is a leader of leaders. He leads the leaders. He said something so interesting. He said, they call, so profound, I'll say. He said something very profound. He said that, they call Paris the city of lights. But in the country where that electricity comes from, all those resources, ain't no electricity. That ain't right. That ain't right. So he's calling it out. Well, another thing I love about this man is just the fact that he carries a pistol. He carries his own pistol because he's a military man. So he walks around with a pistol strapped to his side like, what? And why? Why does he do that? Well, for one, he's had almost 20 assassinations on his life. They are coming for him. They are coming for him hard because every time an African or African American leader stands up and inspires the base, they will come for you. The white man, the oppressors, evil, will come for you because they don't want a strong, united Africa. They don't want people connecting to Africa. They do not want us unified. No, that when Black and brown people are unified, then they can't F with us like that. The reason they F with us here in Brazil and in the islands, all over the world where we are, they F with us because we don't have that strong home.
If Africa is weak, we will never be in a position of respect in America. They used to have a saying that one doesn't have a Chinaman's chance, but they don't say that anymore. They used that expression back when China was weak. But now since Mao Zedong has been successful in making China a strong country, the Chinese have more chance than anybody else. So this saying has become outdated.
So when we start uniting and we start feeling great about our African ancestry, then they start coming for those voices who are making us feel that way. And they call it Pan-Africanism, people who believe in a strong Africa. They believe in African unity. They believe that when we all come together from across the diaspora, then we are all stronger together. Stronger together. That is what Traore is doing right now. People who weren't even thinking about Africa. There's some black folks here. We talking about going home. There is black folks here that you can't even tell them nothing about Africa because they're not interested. One of the things they say is, Africans think they better than everybody. And that's why I say it ain't for everybody, this Back to Africa movement, this talk. But this talk is for you, even if going back ain't. Let's just open our minds a little bit. So one of the things that a certain amount of African Americans say, they're kind of anti-African. They will say that they don't F with the Africans because they think they're better. And to that, I say there are some that think they are better because that is what they were taught.
I can't categorically say every Nigerian got this talk, but a lot of Nigerians that travel abroad got this talk from their family, where they will sit you down and tell you, you are going there. Don't go and talk to those black Americans. You just go and get pregnant. You get into drugs. You become gang banging. They give you that talk. That just go to the white community, find a nice place. They just go and be decent. Stay with the white people. They give you that talk. So when you enter America, you already have a perception of African Americans. You've judged them. And of course, they can see that judgment in your behavior towards them. And they see how you are almost like yes master to the Oyimbos. They see, they're not blind. So when they have that feeling of when they become defensive, when you're in their presence, it's because they see that perception you have of them. So I know I got that talk. And a lot of Nigerians got that talk. So we are over there, we are doing well, we are doctors, we are building houses, we are feeling like, so we come to the land of the living, we are there, land of the plenty, and we are doing well. Forgetting that some people sacrificed for you to even go there in the first place. So is that acknowledgement that the African American community are expecting of us, especially those of us living abroad in America?
Just like it was taught to us that Africans were just running around in the jungle, that we should be so grateful that we got kidnapped on those ships and brought here to work for them, because otherwise we could be sitting up in Africa in the bush. Damn it, you should have left me in that bush, because I'd rather be in that bush living my life, minding my business like I was doing before you showed up, than be here dealing with your ass going on 400 years. Y'all are not who y'all think y'all are. We, can't stand being around those people. And I hate to say this, and I'm not going to say all. I have a theory. I call it, there's humans and then there's white people. To be a white person buying into whiteness is to have fallen grip to evil. Because who you have to be a white person over a human, it's evil. Yeah, white people, you're not so easy to get along with. I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, whenever we meet a freaking white person, whenever we see one, whenever they get within the vicinity of us, our spidey sensors go up and all of a sudden we're like this, because we have to assess them. We have to find out, like, are they one of those kind of white people? Or are they a cool white person? But it's very important that you get this right, because it could cost you your life. It could cost you very uncomfortable moments. You might have to give somebody a beat down. You might have to cuss somebody out, or you might just have to just walk away before you do one of those things. But you have to take the moment to assess them every single time. To the person that is not assessing the white person standing before you, good luck with that. Good luck with that. Because most of us, we have to determine who we're dealing with. And it's almost like a freaking demon. Are we dealing with a demon here? Are we dealing with a evil force that is hell-bent on doing us harm by just existing? Because we are minding our freaking business. I don't even know if we would talk to white people if we didn't have to deal with them. Not all, but I'm saying there are, yes, of course, there's good white people. And then there's those freaking races. Because, it's divide and conquer. You got to make one of them feel like they're better than the other. And they did the same thing with us. And how do we know this? African booty scratcher. Why would we ever say something so insulting about ourselves? African booty scratcher. Where did it come from? And it's evidenced by the songs that we sang. Get back, Jack, because your hand's too black. And you're looking like a monkey on the railroad tracks. To the front, to the back, to the side by side. And we sang that while we played double dutch, while we jumped rope, while we played hopscotch. How innocently the self-hate reveals itself. So a lot of us were taught that we were superior to the African. So they're getting what they get on their side and we're getting here. And by the time we meet, you got some people ready to throw blows. Don't even know why. So it is divide and conquer. I know I even had somebody said the other day, well, Africans, they ain't never send no boat for us. They ain't never send no boat for us. No, I get it. There's some of us that feel like we were sent over here and nobody ever came for us. They still haven't come for us. Would have been dope. It would have been dope if, they would have jumped on some boats and here they came jumping off those boats. Give us back our people. And they swooped us all up and took us back home. You know what I'm saying? That would have been an amazing ending to the story. But it's okay. Because you know what? There are many African countries now that are sending for us, that are saying, come here. They are making paths to citizenship. They are saying, come home. Ghana, Benin, like one of my guests is living in Tanzania. They are saying, come here. And there are opportunities for us. There are opportunities for us, options for us to go there and create and not have our whole existence be hated. Systems set up to hate us based off the color of our skin. There are options, y'all. So when I think about returning to Africa, I think about the options. And even though, y'all, listen, not everybody's going home. Not everybody wants to go and not everybody is going. But for those of us that do go and we strengthen Africa, y'all, it's a movement. Movements are new. They're old. They're new. They're everything. Y'all, when the movement, when we start moving, we got to keep moving. 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 We can't stay still. We can't stay still in this country. We can't think this is our only option. We cannot think that we have to thug it out and fight here from within. Some of us gonna have to fight from the outside. Some of us are gonna have to go and open those doors on the outside. That's who we are as a people. That is who we are as a people. I'm completely biased on this issue of going back home. I tell you, I wish we would all go home. The elderly, the disabled, the rich, the poor, the educated, the not so educated. I wish we would all get up on some ships, some planes chartered by us and just get up out of here. I say we leave this place to itself. And let whatever happen without us. Our blood, our sweat, our tears, our bodies, our creativity. Us. So thanks for letting me cook, y'all. Thanks for letting me cook. Now let's just turn this. I want to talk to some of the guests because I got some good guests for y'all. My first guest is Claude Grunitzky. I have said it before. He is my friend of over 30 years. He was the publisher of a magazine, a transcultural Bible magazine called Trace in the 90s and early 2000s. He was one of the founders of Trace TV. If y'all know Trace TV, y'all know Trace TV. And he is a venture capitalist, and he has a podcast. He's always been about uniting. He's a Pan-Africanist to the bone. And just to sum it all up, he has a class on him at Harvard University. So if you're a student at Harvard, you could take a class and learn about his career. So he's going to be talking to us about what the opportunity is. What is the opportunity for African Americans who are interested in moving to Africa? I consider you somebody. I don't know. It's so weird because it's like you're American. It's like you're French. You know.
Togolese. I carry 3 passports.
Yes, you carry 3 passports. So you're like, you had a word for it. Did you?
Transcultural.
Yeah, transcultural.
Yeah. Well, citizen of the world. I sometimes
citizen of the world. Yes,
I feel
I've heard
I'm
you say
citizen
that.
of the world.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so I very much see you in that way. What do you think? Because there's, a lot of Black people are going to Africa right now. They're going to Ghana. They're going to some are going to Nigeria. I saw. I don't know if it was. I don't know. I forget what other country that was, but they want African Americans to come over there and
Right. Ghana is doing it, and Benin is doing it. Those
Benin,
are the two. Yeah.
Benin was the other place that I recently read. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when you think about that, people are kind of like, I feel like there's this Black Back to Africa movement that I'm always about Africa. So what is the opportunity that you could see, pros and cons, for Black Americans thinking of moving to, say, Ghana, to Africa?
I want to start by saying that I've spent my entire adult life finding ways to bridge the gap between different Black cultures, between Africans who were born on the continent like myself and Afro-descendants in Europe, Afro-descendants in the Caribbean, Afro-Brazilians, African-Americans. I've always found a way to bring those cultures together via shared affinities in music and film and fashion. That's what I did with Trace. That's what I do with True Africa, my Limitless Africa podcast. This is what I've done.
Yes.
Why is it important to me is, having read so much history around slavery and colonialism, I feel like we were divided. And so the fact that so many African Americans and Afro-descendants are wanting to move back to Africa is something that I find very encouraging, but it's not new. W.E.B. Du Bois did it in the beginning of the 20th century, and he moved to Ghana. Nina Simone was living in Ghana for a while. And what I'm finding now is that a lot of African Americans who move to the African continent first on an exploratory trip, they need to be a little bit more open-minded in terms of not expecting things to be as they are in the United States. And there's going to be a culture shock, and you have to accept that.
Yes.
That you will be surprised, but at the same time, the adjustment period means that if you feel comfortable, you can actually maybe be between the 2 continents, between America and Africa for a bit, and then eventually just settle there in the way that Stokely Carmichael, aka Kwame Ture, actually ended up settling in Guinea and marrying Miriam Makeba, the wonderful South African singer, and reinventing a whole new life for himself after having been one of Martin Luther King's closest advisors. So I love the fact that we can learn from our experiences and bring that to the African continent without ever being judgmental. And I'm seeing so many people do it now. I hear that Idris Elba is now living in Ghana.
I think I heard that too.
Yeah, and I love that.
Yeah.
And it's okay. It's okay to be in between different places and feel that the continent is really our motherland, and we can have multiple homes, but we need to feel comfortable on the continent because we're the same.
Yes.
Because a lot of the governments have gotten wiser. The African governments have gotten wiser. The Ghanaian government did it when they did the year of return in 2019. Now the Benin government is doing it by allowing African Americans and all kinds of Black people from the diaspora who claim African heritage to get an African passport.
Oh my gosh.
That's a wonderful thing, to be able to have a passport from the continent
And it makes
and be proud of it.
It makes everybody stronger.
And also the skills transfer, the knowledge transfer.
Yep.
That also leads to capacity building on the African continent, where sometimes we don't have the skills we don't have the know-how on the continent, and
But
it's
you
great
know-
to learn
yeah.
from other Black people
Yeah,
who may just
yes,
be African American.
yes, yes.
I want to mention one more thing though,
please,
because
absolutely.
in my podcast Limitless Africa, last year my favorite interview was an interview I did with Denham Richards, and Denham Richards is an African American actor who is known for being a lead character in Yellowstone, the hit TV series, and he decided to move to Southern Africa to basically create a film company by tapping into African talent in film and using his Hollywood connections as a way to enhance kind of filmmaking and improve storytelling on the African continent. That to me is powerful because he's in between the US and Southern Africa, but at the same time, as a citizen of the world, he's taking the best of each culture and finding ways for people to collaborate.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Claude. Thank you so much, Claude. Next up, we have Tina Ansa. Tina is a beautiful Ghanaian actress and businesswoman, entrepreneur living in LA. She was born in Ghana, but she moved here to the States with her family when she was 5. And she started reconnecting with Ghana a little bit later, like in her 20s. And so in a lot of ways, she is, like us in that she had to go over there and adjust to her country of origin. So we got to chat it up, and y'all, here's Tina.
Tina Ansa. That is the full government. Yes, I'm a Ghana girl, deep down inside, so much pride for Ghana and for my home country. I try to wear it proudly, and introduce people to Ghana specifically as much as possible. But I do believe all of us, diasporians, Black Americans, anyone who's interested in the continent needs to just go and visit. It's such a rich country itself, but also equally a rich continent. So go and visit.
And you said that you started going back to Ghana at around what age?
Oh gosh, I want to say right before my 30th, if not about my 30th birthday.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so we were talking about like there's a learning curve. So would you say there was one even for you having grown up here mostly and then going back? Was that, you had to discover it yourself?
100%. I feel as if though for me, coming to the US at such a young age and not speaking English because English is not my first language, I came here speaking about 3 or 4, as my parents say, different African dialects because we had moved around a little bit. So I was picking up different languages. So by the time we came to the US and they enrolled me in this like private school, creative learning, so I could learn, of course, get my education, learn English. I had to quickly assimilate to this culture. Because at a young age, the kids wouldn't play with me. I had no friends. Nobody could understand the weird little, African girl who was in the class with her afro. So I had to quickly assimilate. But learning this culture absolutely was difficult just because, again, this place was 100% foreign to me. I'm in a class and with a group of people that do not look like me, where the shades of chocolate did not exist, And so it took a bit of time, obviously, for me to really get settled into this kind of just U.S. culture. Learning the English and losing my accent was a process. And I remember that being difficult even for me in school. So yes, it was a bit of absolute culture shock. But to add to that, my parents, we went from Los Angeles and then moved to Colorado Springs, before I started junior high school. So you talk about culture shock. It was a lot. It was a lot during that time.
Wow. Okay. And so let me ask you this. So starting to go back to Ghana, you become almost like the foreigner going back to Ghana, right? So then what is that transition like?
Absolutely. Because, at this point now, I'm what my family jokingly even called me, a brony, which means like white person. Okay. Because I've been here in the US so long that I don't speak the language. I understand it. I could translate. I can hear my parents speaking in our dialect, which is our tribal language of Nzima, so I can hear them. I can understand what is being said, but I cannot respond back in that tongue. So even going back home after so many years, our first trip was 2009. That's when we went back. And at that point, for me, it was a return to innocence because I was looking at this land that I had recollection of. I had obviously a memory about it, but it was still very new to me. It was that rediscovery, as you mentioned, from the eyes of an adult, and from also a person who has been so assimilated to another culture that going back home was a complete rediscovery of just like the land, not the food, because my mom continued to cook, a lot of our cuisines and a lot of our traditional food back home. So I was part of my upbringing. The language wasn't foreign to me just because my parents still spoke it. But in terms of just like the people, and I remember one of my first trips back home, we went back to the village, my mom's village.
Okay.
And I remember some aunties coming up to me and they're like, "Hey, Tina, you don't remember us?" And I'm just thinking to myself, from the age of almost 5, ma'am, no, I'm sorry. No, I don't remember you. But there's a sadness to it because not only do they want you to remember them, but they also want you to be able to speak the language. So they're speaking in our dialect, but they're hearing me in my very proper American, English, speaking to them, attempting to speak. And the other side of my family speaks French. So there is that aspect. I didn't study French in school. I studied Spanish. So there's just such a language barrier and a disconnect in that regard. And not everyone in my family speaks English. It's just they don't. So a lot of broken English, or the very small that they would speak, it just wasn't enough for us to really connect. And that made it difficult. That made it hard. And that's when it hit home that I was like, coming home, I would even still feel a little othered, even amongst my people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why it was interesting to me too, as I'm like, exploring this back to Africa movement and topic and whatnot. I think about you, and so I'm not saying you're African American, but you know what I mean, but you did grow up here. So what should these African Americans know who are thinking about, like, moving? It's
Right.
it could probably
The
be called.
great escape. Ooh, and that is so true. I mean, we've heard that so much over the last few years. I think even with COVID, people were like, "Oh my goodness, it's crazy here. I'm gonna just get out where I can go," and da 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 da. And of course, back home, I believe even across the continent of Africa, we had the least amount of like COVID cases, which is interesting because when you watch the news and you listen to a lot of these political figures, they were concerned that they'd be sending aid back, right? That Africa would not be able to sustain itself, that people would be dying left and right. Okay. Okay.
Wicked laugh.
Okay. Okay. That part. So, for those who are thinking about going back home or going to discover a country, and I would say probably for most that they've never been, I cautiously warn you packing up your dog, your cat, your family, your children, your livelihood, and going to a foreign land that you've never visited and never even stayed for an extended amount of time. Come out of that utopian idea of like the grass is greener and that the land will be better there. Because if you were born here in the US, you've become accustomed to a lifestyle and a livelihood and certain laws and regulations and a system that works for you here in the US. It's not the same back home. You can't quickly run to the store and even expect the girl to like scan your items quickly and get you out the door in 5 minutes. Okay? You can't expect to go to a post office, get in line, a short line, albeit a short line, and get out in a few minutes. You can't expect to go to the whatever documentation office, the passport office, and think you're only going to be there because you have an appointment for an hour and maybe come out so you can get to work in time. Manage your expectations. It's not that same. It's not the same. It's not. Because the system there is completely different. There's organization here. There is a system in place. People follow rules and regulations to a certain degree. Back home is just a little bit of a laissez-faire. People just take their time. Okay, we're just enjoying. We're having a friend and a conversation with Kojo over here while we're over here trying to serve you. You know, we might be even having an argument over here with no. It is just not the same order. And I don't think people have a proper understanding of the difficulties to either run business or just to even sometimes live your life. Let's talk about power outages. We don't think about it here because we have DWP. And if there's an outage, you can get on that phone, bing, dong, bing, dong, bing, dong, bong, and call them and tell them, hey, I live at da-da-da-da-da and my lights are out. Guess what? They're working on it.
Look, you saying they might not be working on it over there.
You
No
better
matter
have
how many
you
times.
better have a maximum capacity generator, okay? Maybe two, just in case, because there's plenty of times when the lights are on and lights are off. Like, that's just real. That's just part of the culture, part of the environment of living there. You know, water gets shut off, power gets shut off. So if you don't have an endless supply, and of course not endless, but if you don't have a surplus of electricity or power or a generator for yourself and your family, yeah, you'll be frustrated. And if you've never lived in a scenario where you just didn't have power for endless amount of hours, sometimes could be a couple of minutes, could be a couple of hours, or it could be an entire day or a couple of days. Just things like that that people, they don't think about. And unless you actually have someone living there who's telling you the real, or you yourself have visited for an extended amount of time to experience all of these nuances, you wouldn't know.
So let me ask you, are you trying to say that African Americans ain't built for it?
Look, look, it's not even African. There are even some of my brother is there right now. Okay, trying to do business. I have another girlfriend out there right now who's managing and overseeing business. And folks are like counting down sometimes the days of coming back just because it's easy. It's just not, you know, and I'm not saying everything is, you know, tumultuous, everything is stressful, everything is, but you know, your blood pressure will rise if you don't have the temperament and you're not prepared to know, I'm going to have to sit and be patient for a long time. For example, my cousin and I, another cousin here in the US, we went back home this Christmas and we said, this is the time to go ahead and get our passports. We want to get what we thought we had to get our citizenships. What I do love about my Ghana is that once a Ghanaian, always a Ghanaian. So even though we both were born in Ghana, left, came to the US, became citizens here because of different reasons, and so we thought we had to. We thought we gave up our citizenship back home. So we went through the process of trying to get our citizenship, getting our passports, our Ghana cards. And when we went to the different offices, they were like, no. You don't need this because you're still a citizen. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah, which was beautiful. Okay. Both of our parents were born there. We were born there. So the process was easier for us. So we thought.
Oh.
Then we had to go to the passport office, which took about 3 working days, meaning we sat there for 8-hour days waiting to be seen by different people to just get the stamp and approval with the documentations that we had to go ahead and get those passports, which they were able to print out in the office and you could pick it up the next day, same day. There's a process and you just have to be prepared to know there's a process to everything. There are no like quick drive-throughs, get it and get out. Nothing is like that. It's just, the system is just not set up that way.
Okay. So let me ask you, we've heard the dark side. No. So
Or the reality. I just want to manage expectations. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
So what do you think could be the if not the promise, the bright side from what you know of, like say even a place like Ghana, for what could be the benefit for an African American, I guess with a certain mentality around it, what could be in it for them?
Yeah, no, I think it's first and foremost the desire, if you have it, to go home and explore your roots. We know so many people have been doing the 23 as a 23andMe, Ancestry.com, just to discover what percentage of the West Coast of, Africa that they're from, or where on the continent they're from. And I think that's beautiful. I believe we're in a space in time where there is such a curiosity because, look, Ghana has become like the new Maldives. It's become the new vacation spot. That is the truth, because there's so much to see and there's so much richness. And it's hard for people to be able to move forward or have an appreciation for what they even have in this land of the US, of America, until you've gone home to see the goodness and the depravity. You have to see both sides. You have to understand that there's abundance, and you also have to see that there's lack. And where do you and your people fall in between that? But it's not just roses, butterflies. It's a beautiful land. So much rich history, clearly, because we've been colonized and have been pooled, all of our resources. There is something in that land that everybody wants a piece of. And so for our Black family in our community, I say go home and see it. Discover it for yourself. Eliminate the thoughts that growing up as a child, National Geographic poured into you, thinking that it was just wildebeest, zebras, and lions running through the towns and people walking around with loincloths and, it's none of that. But you're not going to understand it until you see it. So I say go, because now is the time. His Excellency, the previous president, Akufo-Addo, he had even extended citizenships, right, for Black Americans, for diasporians to come back home. So the country itself is set up for you to return without making it truly difficult. Yes, you're going to need to get a visa. Yes, you need to go. But I think there's so many friends and people who've gone that it's not a difficult trip to make. Just don't go during Christmas, please, I beg, because it's already too expensive and I can't go home now. Okay?
Dang. So you definitely sound like you recommend just even before even moving over, just kind of visiting, getting to know it, and to maybe date it a little bit, right?
Absolutely. Take it out on some dates. Like, explore the different regions, go to the different places, take tours, sit with the land. Like, truly, go and explore and experience, but don't go for a quick, you can't, it's not a quick trip anyway. So you can't go for just 1 week and say,
Yeah.
this
Because
is home.
for me, it's always that dream of kind of that thought of just being in a land where white people ain't trying to come kill you. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
from that,
Absolutely. Of
you
course.
know.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, and again, it's welcoming in the sense that you're not going to walk through the communities and walk on the land and people are going to look at you crazy like they're trying to get you. That you don't have to worry about. It's not even that. It's very welcoming because so many people have visited and have spent so much time there that it is, of course, generated income for these local artisans and the businesses there and just the economy, period. Right. So there is a welcoming mindset for foreigners, and Americans and other nationalities to come and visit the land. So it's very much welcoming, and I think people should do it. But they just have to go with that, mindset of just being open, like you would anywhere else. But I have a hard time with people just wanting to uproot their lives and their livelihood, the normalcy of what they have here, to go to a land that they've never been. So if you've gone there and you've done explorations, even if you've taken many visits, I just want you to know what you're setting yourself up for and what the experience is. It is beautiful. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to feel shocked and welcomed and in love, and you're also going to cry there is all sides, there is all sides of it, because you can drive through a gorgeous neighborhood like Trisaco Estates, where you see these palatial homes, these mansions, and dignitaries, ambassadors, and whatnot live through these homes that are gated with security, and just drive a mile away into something that looks like village life for some people. You just have to be prepared to see, like I said, the disparity as much as the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Going with an open mind, like anything.
Okay. Understood. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for watching this episode. Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Claude. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and your experiences, your insight, advice. Listen, y'all, I know that I said that I was going to have a third guest, Tim Ford Jr., Memphis born, now living with his wife and his 2 kids in Tanzania. However, this episode was getting so long. It was getting so freaking long. And the brew is just recently back. I cannot expect y'all to hang. Fireworks. Sitting here in my office on the rooftop. This is my office, y'all. So yeah, like I was saying, I could not expect you guys to hang out with me for like 2 hour, hour and a half or 2 hour episode. Y'all don't know me like that. I might not be that compelling right now. So attention spans are short. Maybe we'll get there. I hope I'd love to get there. But anyway, I just said, let me put this episode in 2 parts, then expect y'all to sit to the end. And I just did not want to cut not one thing from our interview. The interview was just like really, for lack of a better word, it was deep, y'all. Tim was very transparent about like his own struggles as a Black man living in America and then now living in Tanzania with his family. What inspired that move, and I just didn't want to cut a thing. So please, y'all, thank you for hanging out for this episode, and join me next week for part 2 of the Back to Africa, the return of all return episodes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Like, subscribe, share, comment, hit me up if you have ideas of what you would like for me to cover. I'm open. I'm here for you guys. I'm here to serve. I am here to serve. Alrighty.
Freedom, people.